today's video, we are going to focus on two English verbs that are similar, but not exactly the same. These two verbs are speak and talk. While they can be used interchangeably many times, there are two important things to note. So in today's video, we are going to review these two important pieces to consider before deciding whether you want to use speak or talk. We're also going to review two situations or contexts in which speak is the correct verb and talk is incorrect. And finally, we are going to review some idiomatic phrases which only work with either speak or talk. So in these phrases, you cannot interchange speak and talk. Hello, language lovers and language learners and intellectually curious folks everywhere. My name is Bakul Soman and welcome back to my channel. Please take a moment to like my videos if you think they are interesting and helpful, and please share them with others that you think would enjoy them or find them helpful. Also, make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell so you're notified every time I upload new content. And lastly, please take a moment to leave me a comment. I love hearing from you, and it's a wonderful way for me to engage with all of you who watch my videos. It's also an opportunity for me to create content that is specifically catered to what you would like to see in future videos. So speak versus talk. As I mentioned earlier, they can be used interchangeably, but there are two important things to consider. There are two important ways in which these two words differ from each other, and the usage differs. The first one is the level of formality. Talk is used in informal settings typically. Speak is used in formal settings. So if you're talking to a friend, a colleague, kids, a neighbor, you could say, I would like to talk to you. If you're talking to a manager, your CEO, somebody that you don't know really well, it is better to go with the verb speak and say, I would like to speak with you. So the level of formality of the two verbs is different. So pay attention to the context and use the appropriate level of formality. The second way in which they are different is the focus. And what I mean by that is when you use the word speak, the focus is on the person doing the speaking. For example, he spoke at length about the importance of good nutrition. All right, the focus is on the person doing the speaking and what was said. On the other hand, talk implies conversation, dialogue, a two-way exchange. So if you say something like he talked to her for over an hour, doesn't mean that he was doing the talking for 1 hour and the other person was just listening. It implies that they had a conversation. They talked to each other for over an hour. So with speak, the focus is on the speaker. With talk, the focus, it's a shared focus. The focus is on the speaker and the listener. That listening part is just as important. And the back and forth communication is what is implied with talk. Now, let's look at the two situations or contexts in which speak is the correct verb to use, not talk. The first one is on the telephone. So this comes from the age of landlines when many people used to share a phone line. All right, I know it's horrific for some of you young folks out there to imagine sharing a phone with someone else, but you all grew up doing that, right? You call a household and there could be 5, 6, 7 people living in the household and you don't know who's going to pick up the phone. So when you call, you say, may I speak with Mary, please? And then if Mary is the one who answers, she would say speaking. So for personal phone calls, this is not as applicable anymore because everybody has their own cell phone. However, if you're calling a business, a lot of times you will call a main number and you ask to speak to someone. Okay, so in that case, you would still need to pay attention and use speak. You're not going to say, may I talk to so-and-so? May I speak with so-and-so? That is the more appropriate way to ask to speak to a person on the telephone. The second context or situation in which speak is correct and talk is incorrect is when you're referring to languages. So you would ask, what languages do you speak? Or how many languages do you speak? Not how many languages do you talk? Or he speaks English really well, not he talks English very well. A lot of non-native speakers actually make this mistake. So pay attention when you're referring to languages, it is speak, not talk. Finally, let's look at a few idiomatic phrases. This is just the tip of the iceberg. I'll probably do videos for both speak and talk in terms of the idiomatic phrases that stem from these two verbs. But let me just give you a preview. All right, so let's look at a few for each. And remember, in each of these phrases, you cannot interchange speak and talk. What are you talking about? Not what are you speaking about? Usually this is used if you're trying to convey confusion or you're upset because of what somebody said, or you genuinely don't know. You walk into a room and people are talking about something and you say, what are you guys talking about? Right? So it has lots of different contexts in which it is used, but it's always talking, not speaking. Talk it out. Talk it out refers to having a conversation, a long, in-depth discussion with someone with the purpose of resolving a problem. So if two people are having a problem in a team, say at work, the boss might say, you guys need to go talk it out. Like, you guys have to figure it out. Go figure it out and then come back. Look who's talking. Let's say somebody tells me, you need to find a better work-life balance. And the person who's saying that to me is actually a workaholic who has no work-life balance. So I would say to that person, look who's talking, because that criticism of not having a good work-life balance actually applies probably even more so to the person who said it. Now let's take a look at a few idiomatic phrases with speak. Speaking of that, you use this phrase when you're going to bring up a topic that is related to something that was talked about recently. So if the conversation is about favorite places to vacation and beaches were mentioned, you could say, speaking of beaches, or speaking of that, I'm going to rent a beach house this summer. So you're making a comment that is related to something that was talked about, but it's a slightly different topic. So it's like a segue into a new but related topic. Speak up. This phrase actually has two meanings. One refers to just speaking up as in using a louder volume so people can hear you in terms of the audibility of what you're saying. The second meaning refers to expressing your ideas freely or openly. So you need to speak up in the meeting if you don't agree, as in share, voice your opinion, share your idea, share your objection during the meeting. Unspeakable. This often refers to things that are despicable, horrible. They're so horrible that you don't want to speak them out. The unspeakable acts of violence, for example. However, unspeakable can also be used to convey something that is so intense that it cannot be put into words. There isn't a word that can adequately capture the intensity or quality of something you're trying to convey. So if you speak of an unspeakable love, a love that is so intense or so incredible that there just is no word that can adequately describe the quality or intensity of what you feel for someone else. That is it for today's video. So we looked at two important differences between these two verbs. We looked at two situations in which speak is correct, talk is incorrect, and then we looked at some idiomatic phrases that only work with either speak or talk. They cannot be used interchangeably in those idiomatic phrases. As always, make sure you like the video, share it with folks that you think would enjoy it or benefit from it, and subscribe and hit the notification bell if you haven't done so already. Make sure you leave me a comment. They are a great way for us to engage with each other, share ideas, and it's a great opportunity for you to get content created for your specific needs and for me to create great content catered to your specific needs. Thank you as always for watching, and I will see you next week.